Let's go to Beirut and speak to Ronnie Chatah, who hosts the podcast Beirut Banyan. Ronnie, welcome to the program. Just give us a flavour of what it's like compared to, say, 3 or 4 years ago, daily life.
Well, I can even make it a little earlier than that. Let's go back to October 2019. There are familiar images now. You have protests on the street, you have roadblocks, burning tires, and the country has come to a halt. The fundamental difference is that October 2019, it was the beginning of a massive upswell of euphoria. There was genuine desire on the street for change, positive change. Almost a year and a half later, it's the same images, except without the euphoria. It has completely collapsed. And we used to say the country's on the brink. Lebanon has collapsed. And you mentioned earlier the minimum wage is at $68. The lira to dollar exchange rate is now 10,000 lira to the dollar. That's an 85% loss in value. So people are angry and they're expressing it right now. And just to give you a personal take, it took me several hours to make it home. I was actually stuck trying to zigzag my way back home because of these protests. So there's a lot of anger and there's a lot of despair, and it's being expressed. It's expressing itself through these images that you're showing actually on your side.
Absolutely. Is there increasing evidence of poverty around the country?
Absolutely. There's poverty, there's hunger. People use the word famine here casually now. So there is desperation. And add to that, it's not just the economic collapse or the political paralysis. Just a month ago, there was an assassination. Hezbollah critic Luqman Slim was killed. No investigation, no justice. 7 months ago today was the massive blast, the port blast. Almost half the city torn apart. 300,000 Beirutis lost their homes and are still without their homes. And nothing has happened. So I think there is rage, and it's real rage, and it's expressing itself at times through civil unrest, civil disobedience, like these roadblocks, but increasingly there's chaos and there's crime, and the state has collapsed and the paralysis continues.
So why isn't anything changing? I mean, the country has a caretaker prime minister. Do you have to wait until elections to put someone in power who actually has a different answer to what's happened in the past? Because for years, we've been talking about the political failures in Lebanon, and yet still nothing has changed. When is it going to change? And is it realistic to expect change? Because the people in power, if they're not doing anything, or they're not doing something because they have an inability or because nothing can actually be done?
I think I appreciate the way you're asking the question. There is some optimism with elections. There are grassroots movements that are taking shape. There is a yearning for the elections to succeed and for there to be new faces in parliament. But I think what you're pointing at is accurate, which is this is not just about elections, or for that matter, changing the prime minister's name, which happens regularly in this country, or for that matter, necessarily getting other MPs in power. It may not be that. The system itself, this post-war era that was in 1989 until 2005, mismanaged by the Syrian regime. And since 2005, Lebanon is held hostage to Iran vis-a-vis Hezbollah and Hezbollah's concerns, both security and foreign policy, and their political violence in this country. So we're experiencing now an upswell of anger against the status quo. And that includes all of the direct and indirect consequences of the post-war order. And it is lining itself up now where nominal opponents of Hezbollah are criticized daily. And opponents of Hezbollah are criticizing Hezbollah, and for that matter, the nominal opponents with the same breath. So I think the whole system is now being accused of bringing Lebanon where it is today. And that said, it may not be in Lebanon's hands. The answers may not be on the streets of Beirut or throughout the country. The answers may be, unfortunately, geopolitical, which is Lebanon's curse. And what you hinted at before, that all these issues that come up here domestically, yet Lebanon tatters and it breaks and it falls. So the answers may not be here.
Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating. Is there a brain drain going on, Ronnie? Is the country losing its best, youngest, most educated people?
Absolutely. And I say this in a personal level, and I know this just by names that are not here. The talented, the skilled, those that care about this country are leaving despite their love for Lebanon. They're finding opportunities elsewhere. The economy has crashed, and anyone trying to make a decent living here, it's almost impossible. And I think the patience has worn thin. This isn't the first time Lebanon has tried protesting. 2015, you had massive protests for accountability. And 2005, 16 years ago, nearly 1 million Lebanese went to the street demanding sovereignty, demanding a better state. So it's not the first round. And unfortunately, I think a lot of younger Lebanese that are talented, want a decent life, they're leaving Lebanon. And some of them may not return. So there's absolutely a brain drain, and this will have long-lasting implications to the country.
Ronnie, thank you so much indeed for talking to us. Ronnie Chatah there in Beirut. Take care.